Welcome, everyone, for another episode of AGI Anthony and Greg on Intelligence. I'm Anthony Maggio, and with me is, of course, Greg the Gentleman Prost. That's your new call sign now.
I don't think I've ever been called a gentleman before.
So we want to thank you for joining us on another episode here. Boy, do we have quite a lot to talk about today. We have a lot of really cool content, so we're going to just dive right on into this. So, Greg, since our last one, what did we jump into first here? What do we want to hit as our first topic?
I'm going to talk about the trip I took. Just
love it.
Just to give a little personal anecdote here. So I was in San Francisco with my wife. We took a trip out to Napa. Of course, I had to get the Waymo rides in, right?
Absolutely. And what's the Waymo for anyone that...
So Waymo, I don't even know what Waymo stands for. Owned by Google. It's fully autonomous, no driver, taxi service, similar to Uber without the driver. So
you get into an empty car.
Get into an empty car. First off, you don't tip anybody. So the Uber drives we took from the airport and back, because the cars until next week they won't go on the expressway, were at least double the price. So it seemed to me it was about half the price, and again, you're not dealing with anybody and no tipping. So that was nice.
Interesting.
But just like anything, you got a little anxiety as you using it. It's like, how is this going to work? And anybody who's used Uber, you don't want to mess up that first one where it gives you a bad score, right? So talking to my wife, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, where is it going to pull over? How do you even, okay, I'm at the hotel here, but there's not an easy place to pull out. Let's, kind of stand here and see how this works. And you can see the car coming like an Uber, it makes sense. And I could tell which car was coming, but it didn't give me any description, didn't tell me, here's the license plate number or anything. It just says, as it comes up, it gives you an option to unlock the door.
Okay.
And so you click unlock the door, and the door unlocks, and it's your car, which I thought was really simple. It was so simple. I'm like, well, of course, this works perfectly, right? And so,
okay, so there's like four of them all together or something. Which one's mine?
Exactly. Actually, there were two. There was one across the street. I wasn't sure which one. So opens up. We get in, and it says, hello, Greg. How are you? Here's the destination we have for you. And all of a sudden, on the screen, it shows everything in front of you. Like for a couple blocks, all the individual people walking around, any movement. There's some scooters and things. It's San Francisco, so there's a lot of movement, right? And you got the trolley cars coming by, and cars parked on the side and double parked. It's a complicated city, it really is. And you got these elevations, right, where you can't even see what's in front of you as you come up some of these big long hills and you're turning over. So I thought it was a pretty good test of it, but. First off, it was really comfortable to be able to see what the computer was seeing, and the way it faded people in and out, and it could see around the corner, right? It has the radar, the lidar system on top of it, that spinny thing on the top, so it can actually see through walls and cars and things. And so that gave you a really good peace of mind. And then I got to say, it was so comfortable and accurate within a very short period of time. Neither one of us were nervous about it. In fact, I was just fascinated. And right off the bat, a car was backing into a spot on us, and there was nobody behind us. And I was wondering, okay, let's see how it handles this. And the car kind of got stuck and kind of went back and forth a couple times, and the Waymo car went around it, went into the other lane by a foot or so, knowing no other cars were coming, and actually went around the car. It was really seamless and simple. And there were a number of situations like that. I was quite shocked. And both of us have been in Teslas that have the full driving ability, and that scares me. I remember the very first time I was in one, a friend of a friend, and we were meeting for lunch, and he was going to take me for a ride, and I said, just give me an idea, over the past month or so, how many times have you had to take over the wheel? He says, the past month, I had to take over the wheel like 3 times on the way over here, 10-minute drive. And I'm like, wow. And so if you've ever been in a Tesla, it's trying to do a little bit of everything, and it's in situations that it's never been before. And it doesn't work that great all the time. You got to pay attention. And in fact, if you're not If you don't, if you look down at your phone, the Tesla will pull over. It will arc at you, and only have about 10 seconds or so. So I was shocked at how accurate it was and how simple it was. And my wife said the same thing. She's like, "Man, I would do this in a second." So as a female, I don't have to get in with a male driver, and we thought, if we had younger children, I would consider sending them on using a Waymo. It was pretty impressive. All the way down to I thought, man, I would love to have this car. I would be in the back reading. I didn't feel concerned about its ability at all. Pretty amazing.
That is pretty cool. And that's been the big issues that I saw is when I started driving some of these vehicles, when you started getting the lane centering and, where if you start drifting, it brings you back into the middle of the lane and all that. And the auto stop, right? So I was in a Toyota and it had these extra features, the auto stop and all that. But it terrified would be about the right description, because for me, I'm you're coming up to the car and I'd be stopping already and it's not. And I'm like, are you seeing this? Are you not seeing this?
Right.
And then it starts slowing down and I'm just like it. And driving is kind of one of those perishable skills, right?
Sure.
If you don't do it, you lose, it degrades relatively quickly-ish, especially over time.
Sure.
And so, I worry about that with the younger drivers, right? Where they're not necessarily, they're starting their driving career where some of these technologies are there. If they, I at the local high school, there's a number of kids that pull into the parking lot every morning in, $80,000 Teslas.
Yeah.
Whether it's their parents or theirs or, whatever. But they have all the technology, right? And you're just learning to drive. You're in high school.
Right.
Have you learned to drive or is this driving you?
Yeah.
And do you know what to even take over if it doesn't do something it's supposed to do? So, but I like the Waymo one just because of the LiDAR piece of that, because being able to have that actual physical drawn environment with the laser spinning around and getting an actual 3D map, I think is important as just an extra feature too.
And the ability to recognize that a person or a scooter or something like that, I was really impressed by that as well. It came in a different color. I think it was yellow. But the green path kind of showed the path. We also there was a lane closed, and we got stuck in the lane that was closed. And the way it was marked, I couldn't even tell. I could kind of see around the side and see up 4 or 5 blocks and see that it was closed, but I'm not so sure the car understood that. And so it sat there for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and finally just said, I'm making a decision. I'm going into the other lane. Obviously something's going on here, and went right around it and got back into the lane it was supposed to. It was really impressive. But yeah, I agree. Look, the other part of this is, trucking, truck drivers. That's one of the largest employers in the country. I think there's 9 million truck drivers, for example, and just all the people, all the Uber drivers, how much of kind of a side business that's been for people. I can see this disappearing very quickly. Uber's lost money, every year in existence, and the stock's up, and they're just trying to survive to get to that point so they can kick the driver out, right? But my thought is, unless why not use Waymo or somebody else? Everybody's going to come out at it at the same time.
Especially as like a semi truck in that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of highway. So you got a lot of highway driving and huge safety significance,
Yes.
right? Especially if it's a tanker, if it's and we have all seen them, right? We see those little clips where the driver just happens to look away for a second because they're all dash cams and everything, and then you see the truck. How many deaths there's been lately, even in Michigan, from just unattentive, not doing what they should be drivers.
Yep.
And having some of these tools in these high risk areas would just be so beneficial just to keep everything safer. It's not getting tired. It can operate in all the weather conditions.
Yeah.
And it can be and it can take as long as it wants to get there, right?
Right.
It's not trying to speed because they get paid hourly or by mile.
Right.
It will just go and it will get there when it needs to get there because it doesn't need to take rest breaks. It doesn't need to stop. It'll just go. and
Yep.
it'll arrive, and I'm sure it can back into a parking space, no problem, to a loading dock for the semi trucks.
And if everybody else is autonomous, the other trucks are autonomous, then and they have their own lane, then if they get in an accident, they're just running into each other, right?
And there's nobody in any of them.
Right.
Which
No,
is
that's
even
what I mean.
better.
It's a lot safer that
Yes.
way.
I like that.
But no, it's been everyone's. Hey, you've been saying this forever that the autonomous cars are coming. It can get 98% there, but it's got to be 99.99, right? Too many lives here, and
But
again-
here's the thing, like just to add on that, just to kind of round off that topic here. So if we think about our phones and software, okay, and everybody, the statistics show, and they're that these cars are safer than humans driving it. It's backed up with facts and data,
Yeah.
less accidents. But yet there's this psychological issue, whatever, and they go into that, and I don't want to dive into that level of it on this talk today, but where people just feel like if they're in control that they're better than the computer, right? Like I would never have driven into that, back of the car. I saw that was stopped. Why did it do that?
Yeah.
But what people tend to forget is you get in, nobody gets hurt. You get into an accident, okay? There's a full analysis done on why that accident happened. Pick whoever's fault it is, it doesn't matter. The only people that can get better are the ones that have something to do with that accident, right? If we do the analysis and it was because I looked down at my phone, so I took my eyes off for a second, and because I dropped it on the ground or whatever, and that's what caused me to, at the last second, look up and go, oh, crap, and then swerve, and then because I wasn't paying attention, I didn't know there was a car next to me, so I hit the car, and whatever the story is,
Sure.
I can learn from that, and that's the end of the learning. But let's say that same scenario happens with a Waymo or a driverless car, a Tesla, any of them, it doesn't matter. They do the full analysis, and they realize that it didn't monitor enough of taking into account that if something comes in front of it, it needs a secondary egress emergency path at all times, right? So it needs to know that if there's a car next to me, I either need to speed up or slow down, so I always have a second option. So that way, if a deer jumps out or something happens in front, a tire comes off of a truck or there's a blowout from the semi-truck, I have a safe second path. So accident happens, car drives into it. That analysis gets done, that gets put into the software, gets rolled out as an update. All of the vehicles now learn to have a secondary egress. And I'm super
Exactly.
simplifying it.
No, but
But
is
that's where the learning goes. So now, instead of it being already better than everyone, those scenarios that every time it has an accident, analysis, detail, program, update, won't happen again. Oh, another accident happens, rinse, repeat, also won't happen again. So at some point, you end up where not only are they safer now, it will always be safer in any of the random conditions that come up.
right.
In any scenario, winter, snow, ice, off-road, on-road, animals, different sections, day, night, dusk, whatever it is, eventually all of that will just always be better than human at all times.
And you bring up a great point because I think we're going to talk machine learning here in a minute. It can just learn a lot more in a shorter period of time, right? Or it's taking all those. So I think they've said it's taken their 10. That doesn't sound right. 10 millionth ride, Waymo. Let's say it's million rides, whatever it is, paying rides. Again, that's one driver, right? That's all
Yep.
being put into the same thing and making that system better. And I've even seen that they're using like hypothetical situations where just pretend like you're driving on the road and start giving it situations to learn better as well. It doesn't have to actually be on the road if it can simulate the actual driving. Crazy.
Yeah, and when you say like machine learning, so there's a variety of different ways that the AI systems can be trained. And so, machine learning, they can take the scenario like we were talking about and or simulate it, and you can see what the machine does. And then you tell it like that's a bad outcome. Nope, you still ran into the car, bad outcome. Do it again, bad outcome. Do it again, but didn't hit a car. Good outcome. Reinforce it, right? You can do the reinforcement learning. And so you can use the tools to do 10 billion rides, simulated rides.
Exactly.
So not only do we have the real rides, we have 10 billion simulated rides where we can throw any scenario out at it and see what it does, and then tell it it's good, it's bad, don't do this, and then it just gets better and better and better and better and better all the time.
Yep.
And then
At a specialized thing, too. One thing,
Yeah.
right? We're going to ease into this machine learning part, but people know LLMs, ChatGPT and Gemini, and because that's what they use. But a lot of times when we're talking about AI advancements, we're talking about just straight machine learning programs that are dedicated to a certain situation, and certainly autonomous driving. That's exactly it. Should also mention that the difference for Teslas is that they do not use this radar. It's all sight. And so
Yeah,
it's
he's
all
big on
cameras,
it.
right? And
cameras
and
only,
Cameras only. Musk is adamant that that's good enough to get him over the edge.
because that's humans, right? All we
Yeah.
have are two eyes. So
Exactly.
if we can drive with seeing, so can the car.
It seems to me that that's not logical. Like if you can have this X-ray vision on top of what you can see, that would be much, much better. And you can anticipate something coming around the corner a lot faster. But who am I to argue against Mr. Musk there?
There's reasons, right? I mean, it's very expensive technology, but it keeps coming down. It's like any technology when it's new, right?
Right.
If LiDAR was cheap and cost a penny,
Yeah.
that may change with what they do or don't do. But
Right.
when it's, hundreds of thousands of dollars per car,
Yeah.
it's not like you're going to go mass produce these things.
Right.
But now,
No, I'm good.
so the machine learning, because you mentioned that one. So I want to give another example of that. So one of the tools that the AI tools that I implemented was a website chatbot. Okay, and so what I wanted is I wanted an interactive tool that people could ask questions to, and it could give answers. What are your hours? What's the phone number for this? What day is this happening? What's going on? And so these, like the machine learning side, it needs information. You have to give it information. So when you start, you basically have this AI, which is just a set of statistical mathematical equations, basically, doesn't have anything to base an answer off of. So
Right.
the way they recommended kind of you roll it out is you give it as much as you think you can know. So you do like the pre-training simulation side, right? Like here's the things we think are most asked, and you put all that in. Then you wait to see what people are actually using it for. And so every day I get a report, and it tells me everything that was asked. And then it tells me what things it was not able to answer.
That's cool.
And either it couldn't answer it or somebody marked frowny, thumbs down emoji that I didn't like your answer.
And so are you telling people this is a AI program and that, hey, we're
It 100%
help make
is.
this better?
Oh, it absolutely
And how's
is.
not to get off, how's the response been? I mean, are some people like, this sucks, let's change this.
When you work with the public,
Yeah.
that is just, there's an inherent funness of what people type into these things, let
Yeah.
me tell you. But nothing that also they wouldn't say on the phone to you. So
Sure.
you get all levels of questions and responses and all that. And so what you do is I look and I say, okay, what didn't it have? Okay. And then we get that information, and then we put it either on the website or program it into the AI tool. I usually go with program it to the AI tool because I like that better.
Yeah.
It seems to give a better response.
What's the program?
The one we're using is Phrase. So Phrase.io is the one that we're using. The back end is ChatGPT.
How much does it cost?
For the website integration, they have different tiers. We're paying about $5,000 a year.
Okay.
for that.
And that's all
'cause
you're
it's
getting
based
from
on
it?
there's based on your revenues and size of the website
Sure.
and all that
Are
sort of
there
stuff.
other things it does other than that?
There's the analytics, that tool itself. There is some other back end things it does, especially with like the ADA and the compliance side. There's some recent changes in ADA for websites. Where we have a couple separate tools with it, but it all does and it basically the AI reads and makes sure you're in compliant. And if you
Sure.
put something that's not in compliant, you get a pop up that tells you like, hey, you just put a whole bunch of whatever this update and stuff on the web on this one page, it's no longer compliant, and then you get the alert, and then you can go fix it.
Okay.
And so we take the information for the chat bot, and then we update it, and then now when that question gets asked again, it now knows what the right answer is. And then what's happened is over time you get less and less. When I knew when I first rolled it out, it was every day I was going in and like, oh, okay, they want, oh man, I don't have this information. Well, go get that information, go put it in. Oh, now oh man, I didn't know they were asking. Why would anybody ask for this? I don't even understand. So,
Now, did you find like, oh, I should have put all that information in there. I wasn't thinking about all the Parks and Rec Department information. Have you found that too? Are you putting in
there's
more info?
There's absolutely more information getting put in.
Okay.
For sure. And a lot of it is things that you may have just had a conversation, like, like call on the phone and go, what day is my trash pickup? Oh, right. Okay. So now I got to program it. Okay, here's the streets, here's the sections, here's the map,
That's
here's
what I
the
mean.
days
Yeah.
of the week.
Okay.
Now it knows
Yeah.
what day to tell them. What day
Sure.
is my trash pickup? What
Sure.
street do you live on?
Sure.
I live on this street. Oh, your day is on Thursday.
It sounds like that would be a pretty good thing to give to somebody else, a municipality that wants to start this up and say, hey, here's 20 things.
Oh, yeah. Because you don't think about stuff like that.
Right, that's what I
And
mean.
I'm telling you, I watch that every day. The usage only goes up. From at the very beginning, I think the first week I had like 3 unique users that asked questions and chatted with it. It's up. It's only been, we just hit a year. We did just over. So in about a year now, it's unique, about 15 unique daily.
Wow.
And unique being by basically IP. So if you go and ask a question and chat with it for a while, that just counts as one. You may ask it 20 questions, but
Sure.
it's one user.
Sure.
So we're getting a lot of unique uses every day.
And you're probably
that's
getting past users coming back again
and
all the
that's
time. Yeah,
exactly.
sure.
Because now they're getting the right. So
Yeah.
if you ask it and it doesn't help you, you didn't have a good experience. So now it's you ask and you get a good answer. Well, now I want to use it again. That was so much easier. I don't need to call, hit the button, go through a call tree, or
Sure.
I can just really quick. Oh, maybe it's after hours, or it's a weekend. One of the questions it was asked on a weekend. It was like, what events are going on today?
Yeah.
And of course, we have a different department that handles events. So I now referenced that anytime anybody asks about events, it brings them to their event calendar page that tells them everything that's going on, the events, the details for the events. And that gets asked pretty frequently. That's a pretty common one. So now, and I see it because I see it in the list. I see what are people asking about. And it's the other thing I like too, I appreciate, is knowing because it's local government, what are the concerns of the residents? What are they caring
Absolutely.
about? If I'm seeing 10 unique users asking about something, then there's something going on, right? It's not a random question. Something happened. Maybe there was a news article. What am I not, why is this important to 10 different people to all of a sudden ask about X, Y, or Z?
Yeah.
So it's good to kind of get a little bit of the pulse, if you will, kind of a pulse check of kind of what the interactions, what's going on, what's getting asked about, why it's getting asked about.
If somebody put something on Facebook, you have no idea, but a bunch of people saw the post. Hey, I heard that, and you're trying to figure that out.
Police too, because we have a lot of same name cities across the U.S., and one of them is kind of equal to a large, almost like a Detroit. So there's a lot of crime and that just because that's the kind of city that it is. And so all of a sudden I started seeing all these inquiries about police and why
Must be Rochester, New York.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You didn't want to say it. That's funny.
And sure enough, there was an altercation over there, and people are asking, so they go to, for some reason they end up on our website,
Sure.
and they're asking the chatbot about this police activity and what's going on. So, you take that. So I take that information, I shoot it to the police chief, and I say, hey, just so you know, there's a lot of people asking, and they're not from here, or they are from here,
Sure.
or for some reason they thought it was ours and not the other location. And sure enough, so then, they can take, should they choose to make a post on our Facebook post to say,
Yeah.
hey, we heard about what happened, please stay tuned, let, justice run its course, that, it's being investigated,
Sure.
that sort of stuff. But,
Sure.
it kind of helps you with a little bit of the optics, the damage control a little bit, because
And ahead of
you have
time.
the same names.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to have scars. People start thinking that you're some really bad, terrible incident happened, and nobody ever has all the facts. Certainly not on Facebook.
Yeah.
But you try to make sure that at least you give a good message and you just stick to facts and you clear up confusion. And then people realize that, we had no, officer involved shootings all of a sudden, that
Sure.
sort of thing. So it's
And
just
then
another way
as
you
people
can
get
use
used
them.
to it. Like, hey, what's going on this weekend? I'm assuming almost every week they might ask. Same person comes in and asks the same question.
And
gets
it
used to
drives
using
traffic
It. Yeah, that's great.
to those pages, and
Yep.
it gets more people interested.
Yep.
And it's also easy to share too, which is a benefit,
Sure.
because then they can go share it across all the other channels.
Sure.
So yeah, all good things for sure on that one.
So we were talking a little bit more about machine learning. I think this is just spending some time there because people just get mixed up and they're looking at LLMs and it's not working right, and
Yeah.
and trying to make the comparison. Again, some of these machine learning programs, initially AlphaFold, protein folding, and just they've figured out some things that are just, we thought it would take another 100 years to work through. And it's kind of getting pushed aside, or people aren't thinking about it because they're thinking about ChatGPT. So just reiterating that it's important to understand that AI is not just these chatbots. And a lot of people are coming at it in different ways, but this machine learning where you can just let it teach itself, right? You're pumping the information in and it's teaching itself. It's going through scenarios. That's a next kind of big thing. Put it in a real world scenario so it's acting, and then run it through its movements and actions. And there's so many different things that can be applied to, instead of have your experience over, and it's happening once a month to you versus a million times every second where it's testing that same type of thing. So I think that's something we're going to be talking about a lot more in the future, but just delineating between, hey, machine learning versus an LLM, completely different approaches here.
And you're right on, and that's the thing. We should probably dive into that a little bit deeper too, maybe on the near future episode here, because when you talk about AI, everyone thinks it's ChatGPT, it's Gemini, it's Meta, with and it's not. That's a type of tool, and there's so many other types. And just like you wouldn't use a wrench as a screwdriver. Maybe,
done that before.
everything's a hammer.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, so I
exactly.
can't use that
Yeah.
one. Screwdriver, you actually have to have the tool. There are the equivalent in AI, all those different tools for different scenarios,
Yeah.
and you can't just throw a ChatGPT at every scenario. It has a use, and you have to stick to those uses. But
Definitely.
anyways, on that note, so thank you once again, everyone, for joining us. On another episode of AGI, Anthony and Greg on Intelligence. And with that, we'll catch you on the next one.